On a rainy Monday morning in June 2024, a recruiter at a Fortune 500 company opened an email that, at first glance, looked like any of the hundreds she received every day. The subject line was clean, the attached resume was polished, and the cover letter was tailored exactly to the position. The applicant's name? Gabriel Walters. His LinkedIn profile was active. His endorsements seemed organic. His work history included a senior security engineering role at a respected firm, his credentials impeccable. Within 48 hours, he was scheduled for a remote interview. Within a week, he was hired, but Gabriel Walters didn't exist. Disclaimer: the following story is a dramatized account based on real-world cybercrime tactics. Names, events, and dialogue have been fictionalized to protect identities and ensure viewer safety. This video is intended for educational awareness only and does not promote, glorify, or encourage cybercrime of any kind. Viewer discretion is advised. I'm Paul Cyber, and this is Paul Cyber Files 001. The photo on his resume was generated by AI. His education came from scraped university transcripts stolen in a breach 2 years earlier. His job experience was a patchwork of actual employee histories, people who had once uploaded their resumes to job boards like Indeed, Monster, and freelance platforms. His references were generated with voice AI, simulating conversations if someone decided to call and verify. But they didn't. They never do. That's how Gabriel was quietly on board into a role that gave him access to a cloud environment managing sensitive data across multiple financial institutions. 2 weeks later, that data was gone. The breach made headlines for about 3 days. Insider threat hits leading fintech firm. But what wasn't revealed to the public was that Gabriel wasn't just a fluke. He was a product of something much bigger. Interpol later connected the dots to a pattern of synthetic employees that had infiltrated more than 70 companies across 11 countries over the past 18 months. The victims spanned industries: finance, healthcare, SaaS, defense subcontractors. These weren't botnet attacks or ransomware gangs. These were digital ghosts, fake applicants created with such precision that they passed every stage of modern hiring processes. At the center of it all was a black market AI tool called SentiCore, a resume-generating engine fine-tuned on hundreds of thousands of stolen real resumes. It could simulate work histories, build personalized cover letters, spin up fake references with VoicePrint clones, and link to matching LinkedIn profiles seeded over months. Its users weren't just hacking companies, they were hacking trust. This is the story of the Ghost Résumé, a silent, invisible attack that bypassed firewalls and antivirus software and walked right into the world's most secure networks, through HR. It all began with a freelance data scraper named Nuri operating out of Lagos. Nuri's original gig was simple: scrape job boards for leads and contact information for sketchy recruiters. But in early 2023, after a contact in a Telegram group showed him how to use an AI resume parser, he had a new idea. What if he could build the perfect job applicant? He began harvesting resumes using automated bots that bypassed CAPTCHA systems. These bots mimicked human scrolling, clicked randomly, and copied resumes posted by real people looking for jobs. Each file was dumped into a private repository, cleaned up with Python scripts, and indexed by industry, region, and skill set. By May 2023, Nuri had scraped over 700,000 resumes, unfiltered, unredacted, and full of rich identity data. It wasn't long before a darknet broker approached him. The buyer was only interested in high-skill resumes, engineers, software architects, cybersecurity analysts. The deal was $2,000 for the first 10,000 files, paid in Monero. Nuri accepted. What he didn't know was that his data would feed a machine learning model being trained in Jakarta, managed by a man who called himself Lin Zero. Lin Zero's operation was different. He didn't just want to breach companies. He wanted to embed assets, synthetic personas with full employment histories, interactive online presence, and verifiable references. His tool, SentiCore, used GPT-4-derived models fine-tuned with resume formatting data, corporate jargon, and psychological profiling to simulate an ideal candidate's communication style. He called it employable mimicry. Each resume created by SentiCore came with its own set of digital breadcrumbs: LinkedIn profiles seeded with endorsements, GitHub accounts forked from active open-source repos, Medium blog posts authored with SEO-optimized articles on DevSecOps. Some even had fake Glassdoor reviews from former colleagues praising their work. It was a symphony of deception. And recruiters? They never saw it coming. The first known infiltration happened at a US-based cloud infrastructure provider. A fake employee named Sarah Choi applied for a mid-level DevOps position. Her resume looked textbook. Her Zoom interview was conducted by a deepfake avatar powered by real-time voice synthesis. The video feed stuttered, the lighting was dim, plausible for remote workers with poor connections. She answered every question confidently. 2 weeks later, Sarah had access to the Jenkins environment. Within 5 days, the source code of 2 unreleased products was quietly exfiltrated. The company discovered the breach only after customers complained about identical features appearing in a competitor's software out of Vietnam. From there, it escalated. SentiCore operators began renting access to their AI-created identities on a subscription basis. For $5,000 a month, you could deploy a ghost into a target company with administrative access. You wouldn't even need to conduct the infiltration yourself. SentiCore's team handled the job interviews, onboarding paperwork, and system navigation. One customer testimonial posted on a dark web forum read, "We got inside a Fortune 100 within 21 days. Full root, no malware, no trace. The most chilling part? These synthetic employees weren't stealing data in large, obvious chunks. They moved slowly, blending in with normal team behavior. They joined Slack channels, sent TGIF memes, made jokes about deadlines, and participated in agile sprints. They were invisible not because they were hiding, but because everyone assumed they were real. The red flags were subtle, but they were there." One engineer in a security team at a biotech firm noted how their new colleague, Arjun Malhotra, never attended video calls with a camera on. Another developer remarked that Arjun's Slack messages felt too polished, almost like they were copied from ChatGPT. But nothing triggered alerts. Arjun completed his tasks, committed code on schedule, and even stayed active during late hours. What the team didn't know was that Arjun didn't exist. His entire identity had been built from the digital detritus of 3 real engineers, one from Delhi, one from Toronto, and one from London. Their work histories were blended into a single profile, their social content scraped to build a behavioral model, and their names partially altered to avoid exact matches. Eventually, it was a VPN log that raised the alarm. Arjun had logged in from 2 vastly different IP addresses, one in Hungary, the other in South Korea, within 15 minutes. That anomaly triggered a threat hunting investigation, and what they found shocked the entire company. Arjun's onboarding email had been registered with the domain created just 5 days before he applied. His references were unreachable. The university listed on his resume had no records of him. By then, it was too late. 2 petabytes of proprietary biomedical research had already been cloned. The case landed on the desk of Julia Ramirez, a federal cyber investigator specializing in synthetic identities. Her task force began to piece together similar incidents across various sectors: telehealth, aerospace, e-commerce. It was the same story. Highly qualified remote hires, no in-person interaction, rapid access to sensitive systems, followed by subtle but catastrophic data theft. Julia coordinated with Interpol's cyber division and traced the SentiCore infrastructure to 4 rotating nodes spread across Eastern Europe, Southeast Asia, and parts of West Africa. But even with that knowledge, there was a problem. None of the victims wanted to talk publicly. Companies feared reputational damage, stock market impact, and investor panic. Without public pressure, law enforcement had little leverage. That's when Julia turned to independent researchers. One of them was Dr. Leena Patel, an AI ethics expert who had been studying the rise of synthetic media and labor displacement. When she got access to leaked SentiCore files, she saw the horror unfold line by line. The code wasn't just building resumes, it was performing sentiment analysis on job descriptions, tailoring tone and emotion to manipulate recruiters. It could mimic neurodivergent speech patterns, adjust for racial bias in hiring, and even simulate diversity candidates to increase interview chances. It was a weaponized empathy engine. Dr. Patel's team published a detailed white paper exposing the technical architecture of SentiCore. The findings were terrifying. The Resume engine was connected to voice AI APIs, facial animation tools, and real-time lip-sync video modules, could carry out live Zoom interviews with believable deepfakes. And the worst part? It was still in beta. The full version hadn't been released yet. When Julia tried to follow the money, she ran into a wall. Payments for SentiCore access were routed through privacy-preserving cryptocurrencies, filtered through mixers, and obscured by DAOs with no identifiable leaders. The only consistent clue was a recurring handle across dark web forums, Dr. Glass. He posted technical updates on the SentiCore engine, bragged about new features, and once made a chilling statement: "Why break in when you can be invited in? The Resume is the new backdoor." Paul Cyber here, and at this point in the story, we have to ask, how did it get this far? Why weren't hiring systems flagging these synthetic identities? The answer is painful. In an era of remote work, HR departments have accelerated automation in recruitment. Applicant tracking systems filter resumes by keywords, not background checks. Many companies never verify references if the interviews go well. And video calls? They're rarely recorded or scrutinized unless someone complains. We've trained ourselves to trust pixels on a screen. Meanwhile, the victims pile up. One real engineer named Daniel Kim discovered his Resume was being used, without his consent, by a synthetic identity that got hired at 3 different companies in Canada. Daniel had applied to those jobs himself months earlier and was rejected. In January 2025, a small cybersecurity startup based in Estonia received an application for a red team penetration tester. The Resume was pristine. The GitHub profile was active. The cover letter, personalized down to the very language the CEO had used in a podcast interview a week earlier. The applicant's name was Maya Duval. Her profile picture radiated confidence. Her LinkedIn showed a trail of jobs that reflected fast promotions, glowing peer recommendations, and perfect alignment with the company's mission. But the hiring manager, a former journalist named Karel, couldn't shake a strange feeling. Something about Maya's photo felt too flawless. It wasn't uncanny valley, but something subtler. He dropped her image into a reverse image search. No hits. He tried a metadata scan, scrubbed clean. Suspicious, he ran her Resume through a tool designed to detect AI-generated text. It flagged 87% of the content as likely synthetic. Karel dug deeper. He pinged one of Maya's references using an off-the-record number, not the one on her Resume. The person answered, confused, said he'd never heard of her. That's when Karel called in help from local authorities. Within 48 hours, Maya Duval's IP trail led back to a compromised proxy server in Kazakhstan. The entire application was synthetic. But unlike other targets, this time the company caught it in time. Word spread. Karel posted a blog detailing how he uncovered Maya Duval. Within days, whistleblowers across multiple countries came forward. Tech workers from Sao Paulo to Manila realized their resumes were being used without their knowledge. A global pattern emerged. Names slightly altered, photos modified with AI, experiences adjusted just enough to avoid detection. The whistleblower reports led to an unexpected breakthrough. One user posted a corrupted JSON log file on a private Discord forum, claiming it came from an internal SentiCore instance. The file contained entries for over 18,000 synthetic identities, their usage status, deployment IPs, company names, and even ratings by SentiCore users ranking which personas were most stable and believable. Julia Ramirez, now leading an international task force, reviewed the logs with horror. One persona, codenamed Echo 47, had been deployed in 5 financial institutions simultaneously, using different aliases. Another, Rainglass, had access to the internal ticketing system of a national power grid. These weren't random experiments, they were coordinated intelligence operations masquerading as fake job applicants. The task force published a redacted version of the list and sent urgent alerts to affected companies. Most quietly purged the ghost employees. Some issued public statements, but a few tried to cover it up until shareholders caught wind. Pressure mounted. Lawmakers demanded answers. Civil liberties advocates raised concerns about AI in hiring, while cybersecurity experts called for stricter identity verification protocols. Meanwhile, SentiCore's infrastructure started vanishing. Nodes disappeared. Domains went dark. GitHub repositories hosting helper scripts were taken offline. On one forum, a user named Dr. Glass posted a single message. "You saw what trust really is. It was never your firewall. It was the story." That was the last anyone heard from him. Today, remnants of SentiCore still float across forums and torrents. Ghost Résumés still surface, but the playbook has changed. Recruiters are warier. Companies are reevaluating the speed at which they automate hiring. And most importantly, the public is finally asking questions. Who are we trusting? What are we validating? Are we hiring people or pixels? And here's the most chilling part. In March 2025, a quiet startup in Atlanta posted a job for a back-end Python developer. Within hours, they received an application from someone named Ethan Trask. Clean resume, authentic tone, strong portfolio, but the CTO had seen the warning signs from Paul Cyber files. He ran the name through the leaked SentiCore logs. Nothing. But just to be sure, he reached out to one of the applicant's references, this time using a direct corporate line listed on LinkedIn. A woman answered. She confirmed Ethan worked with her 3 years ago, praised him, even sent over a recommendation email. Only her voice felt off, almost filtered. He asked a random question. "Do you remember what project Ethan led during the summer of 2022? She hesitated, then replied with a canned phrase. Ethan's contributions are difficult to summarize, as they were multifaceted. That's when he knew. The voice was synthetic. The resume wasn't on any breach list. This wasn't SentiCore. This was something new. Paul Cyber here. And that's where today's story ends or maybe begins. Because if there's one lesson we've learned from the Ghost Résumé, it's this. In the age of AI, the greatest threat may not come from malware, or 0 days, or nation-state actors. It may come from someone who looks exactly like who you wanted to hire. Someone whose story feels real, whose credentials are tailored, whose smile, resume, and voice, all generated from fragments of stolen lives, are good enough to earn your trust. So what can you do? If you're an employer, verify more than just resumes. Implement biometric checks where possible. Cross-verify references through trusted networks, not just email replies or LinkedIn links. If you're a job seeker, secure your resume. Avoid posting full details publicly. Watermark your documents. Opt out of resume harvesting sites. Monitor for impersonation. And if you're in tech, law, or policy, raise awareness. Help build frameworks for safe hiring in an AI-driven world. Because the Ghost Résumé isn't just a cybercrime case. It's a warning that our identities, our trust systems, and our digital footprints are more vulnerable than ever. Let me know what you think in the comments. Have you or someone you know ever noticed suspicious hiring behavior or identity misuse? Could a synthetic applicant be working alongside you right now? Sound off below because I read every comment. And if you want to stay ahead of the next wave of cyber deception, subscribe to Paul Cyber Files and turn on notifications. Next, we uncover something darker. A fake AI job recruiter who didn't just hire employees. He asked them to complete technical tests that installed ransomware on corporate laptops. Coming soon, the test you should never take. When fake recruiters deliver real malware. This is Paul Cyber exposing the shadows in the system, one file at a time. Stay vigilant.